I am Dr. V. Shantamina, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Self-Finance. In this video, we will see about how to compute income from house property. First, what is house property? The annual value of a property consisting of any building or land appertaining thereto, of which the assessor is the owner, is chargeable to tax under the head income from house property. There are three conditions which is to be satisfied for property income to be taxable under this head. Number one, the property should consist of buildings or lands appertaining thereto. That is, appertinent means attached with the building. Number two, the assessee should be the owner of the property. Number three, the property should not be used by the owner for the purpose of any business or profession carried on by him, the profit of which are chargeable to income tax. Next, there are certain exemptions from the tax to certain persons. What are those? Number one, an ex-ruler for his occupation. Number two, local authority. Number three, approved scientific research association. Number four, institution for the development of Khadi and village industries. Number five, Khadi and village industries board. Number six, certain funds, educational institutions, hospitals, etc. Number seven, registered trade union. Number 8, statutory corporation or an institution or an association financed by the government for promoting in the interest of the member of SC and ST. Cooperative society for promoting the interest of the members of SC or ST. Number 11, charitable trust, and number 12, political parties. Next, we will see about annual value. It is the important matter. This is the basis for calculating income from house property. The basis of calculating income from house property is the annual value. The annual value of the house property is determined on the basis of four values. Number one, actual rent. Number two, municipal rental value. The number three, fair rental value. And number four, standard rent. First, what is actual rent? It is the rent actually received by the owner of the house property from the tenant. Number two, municipal rental value. For the purpose of levying local taxes, the local authority, that is municipal corporation, conducts a periodical survey of the house property in the local limits. Number 3, fair rental value. It is the rental value of a house property can fetch. It is based on the rent prevailing for similar type of accommodation in the same or similar type of locality. Then number 4, standard rent. The rent fixed by the Rent Control Act wheresoever applicable is called standard rent. It is applicable to the metropolitan cities, that is Chennai, Mumbai, Calcutta and Delhi. On the basis of these four values, the annual value of the house property is determined. Then we will see about how to determine the value of annual value. For the purpose of calculating annual value, first we have to calculate gross annual value. The gross annual value is calculated by following four steps. The first step is we have to consider municipal value and fair rent. From these figures, the higher value is first taken. From this amount, standard rent is compared. whichever is lower will be taken. That is the expected rent. So first we will consider two values. Number one, municipal value, and number two, fair rent. Whichever is higher will be taken. The amount will be calculated with the standard rent. Whichever is lower will be taken. That is the expected rent. That is step number 1. Coming to step number 2. The actual rent of the property is taken. So, the actual rent from that unrealized rent will be deducted. So, what is unrealized rent? Sometimes the amount will be not taken from the tenants. That value will be deducted from the actual rent. Then, step 3. Step 1 and step 2 values are compared. That is, we calculated step 1 value, that is expected rent. That value is compared with the step 2 value. Whichever is higher will be taken. That is the step number 2. Then step number 4. From the step number 3, the value calculated in step number 3, the amount due to loss of vacancy is deducted. So the fourth step is step 3 minus the loss due to vacancy. The amount calculated here is the gross annual value. So step 1, we have calculated expected rent by comparing municipal value, fair rent and standard rent. In the step number 2, actual rent minus unrealized rent, that is the step number 2. Step number 3, step 1 or step 2, whichever is higher will be considered. In step number 4, step 3 minus loss due to vacancy, the remaining amount we got is the gross annual value. Next, we will discuss about how to compute income from house property. The first one is gross annual value. We already see about how to calculate gross annual value. From that amount, we will deduct municipal tax. Very important one. In this municipal tax, the amount paid by the owner will be taken. Suppose if the municipal tax is paid by the tenant, it will not be taken as tax, municipal tax here. So amount paid by the owner as municipal tax is deducted from gross annual value. So the remaining balance is the net annual value. From the net annual value, we have to deduct two deductions. First one is standard deduction and number 2, interest on borrowed capital. The first deduction, standard deduction. The standard deduction is calculated on net annual value. From the net annual value, we calculate 30%, that is the standard deduction. Number 2, interest on borrowed capital. Suppose we got loan from banks for construct a building, that interest paid to the banks is deducted here. So these two deductions are added and it is subtracted from the net annual value. The remaining balance we got is the income from house property for the let out building. Particularly one point, this is only for the let out property. This is explained with one problem. In this problem, the first one is actual rent rupees 24,000 per annum. Number 2, fair rent 28,000 per annum. Number 3, standard rent rupees 20,000 per annum. And number 4, municipal value rupees 25,000 per annum. So from this, How to calculate gross annual value? We have to follow the 4 steps. First step, compare fair rent and municipal value. So here fair rent value is rupees 28,000, municipal value is rupees 25,000. Whichever is higher, here 28,000 is the higher amount that is taken. Then that 28,000 is compared with the standard rent, that is 20,000, whichever is lower. So here 20,000 is the lower amount. This is the expected rent, that is step number 1. Coming to step number 2. What is our actual rent? Rupees 24,000. Here there is no unrealized rent and no vacancy allowance. So we taken rupees 24,000 as step number 2. Coming to the step number 3. So first step number 1 is rupees 20,000. The amount calculated in step number 2 is 24,000. Whichever is higher. So 20,000 and 24,000 is compared. Whichever is higher means rupees 24,000. That is the gross annual value of the house property. So first step number 1, fair rent and municipal value are compared. Higher is taken. From that amount, standard rent is compared. Lower will be taken. That is the expected rent, step number 1. Coming to step number 2, actual rent rupees 24,000. Here there is no unrealized rent. So the step number 2 value is 24,000. Step number 3, step number 1 and step number 2 are compared. Whichever is higher will be taken. So here 24,000 is higher. So the value of gross annual value is rupees 24,000. Thank you.